While HIV is currently increasing 50% faster among women than men, women with the virus have a tougher time obtaining disability benefits because their symptoms do not match those laid out by the Centers for Disease Control. Sharon Lund is well aware of the extra barriers facing women with AIDS. She is HIV symptomatic but doesn't have full-blown AIDS. She found out she was at risk when she tuned into a TV special on AIDS and found out that her ex-husband was infected. She joins us now with her daughter, Jeaneen Lund, who is involved in AIDS education for teenagers. Welcome to both of you. Sharon, I try to think about what could possibly be in someone's mind when you see a special. It concerns AIDS. Your ex-husband is presented, and you have to say to yourself, God, it could be me that's infected with that. Is that what you said?
That is correct, Sonya. I went into denial, and I just figured it couldn't have happened to me. And even though I saw him on the television special, how could it happen? I mean, I was a woman, and 5 years ago, you just didn't hear of that. So it was very devastating when I heard that, yes.
How long did it take you to start to move to the reality that you better get tested?
Well, I immediately called him, and he denied that it was him, and then later on did admit him. But it took me 3 months to get tested, basically because there weren't enough test sites available and the waiting list was that long. But as soon as I saw him, I immediately signed up to be tested, so it took 3 months to get in, and it did come back positive.
What happens now? You're positive. What happens to your life? What happens to the way you live every day?
Well, Sonya, I think originally what happened was I went into denial for 3 years and didn't really think that anything would happen to me until I started experiencing symptoms. And now I can really say that the virus has really impacted my life and empowered me to live my life to the fullest. And I have to face the reality that this is with me now, and I can either say, woe is me, and be doom and gloom, or have it empower my life, and that's what I've chosen to do.
Sharon, you look so healthy that when you talk about being symptomatic, I understand that you have ARC, which means that it's not full-blown, but it has moved from just being HIV positive. What are the symptoms, and would women recognize that they are symptomatic?
Well, I think to begin with, you can go through a long period of time of not experiencing any symptoms. My original AIDS symptoms, or ARC symptoms, were severe night sweats. I had candida, I had thrush, which is white spots in the mouth, lymphadenopathy, which is swollen lymph glands. I had low and high-grade fevers, and severe fatigue. But I think what's happening now is that because of the CDC definition, that the candida, the pelvic inflammatory disease, that the urinary tract infection, that the OBGYN problems are not listed yet as the CDC definition as AIDS. So people that are experiencing those things chronically could be infected and not know it. I'm not trying to scare people and say that if you have candida that you're infected, but there could be a possibility that you are. And I think this is where the problem is lying amongst women.
Jeaneen, are you scared? I mean, does just knowing that this exists, that your mom has it, does it scare you even as you think about coming into adulthood, having relationships with men?
Yeah, you really don't know if a relationship is totally honest. And also I'm scared of her dying, even though I don't know if she would die of this disease or if she'd die of something else. But it does scare me very much.
Now, this was not your father. It was your stepfather.
My stepfather, yeah.
Is this something that you think young people like yourself ever think about, or is it because it's in your family that you've had to open your eyes and pay attention?
Probably because it's in my family, because a lot of teenagers and a lot of people just don't think that it could happen to them or anybody that they know. But once it hits you, either by a best friend or a relative, then you really get involved with it and you learn more about it. But sometimes, like some people in class, if they're learning about it in class, they'll just fall asleep and they won't really pay any attention to it because it won't happen to me, quote unquote.
Sharon, you're a very attractive woman.
Thanks.
Having AIDS does not take away from normal impulses that people have. You've been married and divorced since. You've had a couple of relationships. They're sexual. Do you worry about the fact that you may be infecting somebody else?
Well, Sonya, I do everything I possibly can. When I am in a relationship with a gentleman, I'm honest from day one, and I tell him where I'm coming from, and we talk about the precautions of safer sex. And if he has any concerns about it, we talk about it. I think the most important thing is honesty. And whether it's that I'm infected or whether it's that I'm in a process of a herpes outbreak, whatever it is, it's about honesty. And I think that if the honesty is there, that you can be in a relationship, and you have to take every precaution possible to have safer sex and to prevent that from spreading into the other person.
Let's take a call. We'll go to Joyce in Nevada. Hi, Joyce.
Hi.
Yes.
Sharon.
Hi,
this
Joyce.
is your sister. I just wanted to let you know that I really admire you for being on this show, for not sitting back and just lulling in this, and for making people aware of AIDS. I think it's wonderful what you're doing, you and Jeaneen, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Jeaneen,
you, Joyce.
Jeaneen, hearing your aunt just then, it makes me wonder about how well we do protect the children in our lives. There are a lot of debates about condoms in high school. How do you feel about that? Is it just giving permission to kids, or does it tell them we love you and we want you to take care of yourself?
Well, I think it's better, like, if people were to promote it, because people are taking control of their life instead of getting a disease and maybe dying of it. And I think it's better that like, if a child has condoms in their drawer or carries them with them, that they're taking control of their actions and hopefully saving their lives, or trying to.
Sharon, I want you to give you just a moment there, because I know that you didn't expect that call from your sister.
I don't know how that happened.
And her pride in you for being so courageous. What do you tell Jeaneen about sexual behavior? And let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
Your husband did not tell you that he was bisexual.
That's
and
correct.
he even denied that it was he on the TV special, if I did my homework correctly. So how do you start to build trust? At some point you have to trust somebody.
That's true, Sonya. You do have to trust somebody, and I think that, boy, that's a hard question. I think that as you as an individual are honest, that perhaps you'll attract that person, but you won't. I think with this virus, I think you almost have to have that honesty go to the point where if you're going to be in a relationship, that you both be tested, that it become a monogamous relationship, and that there be honesty. And beyond that, there's not much we can do.
Let's go to Clark in New York. Hello, Clark.
Hi. I just wanted to congratulate Sharon. Too often when the discussion of AIDS or HIV is given out, it is given out as a death sentence. And it's people like Sharon who give us all hope. I also have HIV, and I hope to live. I expect to die at some point in my life. I hope it's going to be 50 years from now. And it is other people who have the same kind of positive attitude that help me on my bad days.
Thank you for that. Sharon,
Clark,
you've elected holistic medicine. I just wondered if we might talk a little bit about the decisions you have made medically and how you feel about other people using more traditional means.
Well, I think everybody has to find out what works for them. I think the important thing with me and the holistic approach to healing is it's really made me take responsibility for my life. And I use acupuncture, I use herbs and vitamins, I do meditation, I do visualization, I do a lot of emotional clearing almost daily. So it's empowered me to take responsibility for my life and not just depend on a pill. I think what Clark said, I think attitude is 90% of the whole thing. If you have a positive attitude, and if you do all you can to keep positive thoughts and the environment and stress out of your life, I think that helps a lot. I really do.
I love the idea of emotional clearing. Would you describe that a little bit?
Well, I think emotional clearing, I do a lot of inner child work, like John Bradshaw work. But even more important, I look at my childhood, I look at my adolescent years, and what belief systems do not serve me? Whose belief systems were they? What is the anger about? I think that anger, I think that sadness, resentment is stored up in the body, and I think that contributes to disease.
Yes.
So I think the more you release the emotions, the better off you are.
Thank you for that. Let's go to California and Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Hi, Paul.
I just wanted to comment on the fact that the two women guests are absolutely correct. I'm working currently right now on a grant that's due this week in the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta that deals with the issue of HIV in women. on behalf of the women inmates in the Los Angeles County Jail.
Mm-hmm.
The LA County Jail is the largest jail in the world, and consequently the largest, probably the largest group of HIV-infected women anywhere in any one setting is inside the walls. And the denial that we have to face is so extreme in order to even get them to hear the information that we want them to receive. But I'm also particularly impressed by the woman's daughter, who you can tell by the face has internalized that when this comes down to people her age, at the high school age and younger, that's when America is going to finally realize we have a major epidemic, because there's going to be empty seats in classrooms where her classmates are going to be dying as a result of this. And
I thank you for your comments and for your making us more sensitive to this. Let me ask you, Sharon, about issues of benefits and the ability to get help, because there is a difference between male and female AIDS in terms of the CDC definitions. How do we help change this?
Well, I really think that the government is trying to change it. I think that they're not only looking at the medical problem or the CDC definition, but if an individual can actually say or list down, even if it's pages after pages of supplemental, how has it affected their family life, how has it affected their chores, their work, their recreation. If an individual can follow up with this, I think it helps them to get the benefits. And then also get a third party, have 3 or 4 people write about how this virus has affected their life in an everyday situation. And I think that the government is that Social Security is trying to help more women and people in general, and not just look at the CDC definition.
Sharon, I thank you so much for being with us today. You are
a
very courageous woman. And Jeaneen, it's a great pleasure to speak with a young person who's so aware of the world and who knows what has to be done to take care of herself. The love between you really shines through the camera. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sonya.
Coming up, actress Teresa Saldana fights back to stop crime like the one that almost ended her life.